PowerPoint?
What's that?
If we stand here, keep counting down, see the
But she doesn't need to see it when you introduce yourselves.
Okay.
Right. Also, she can see the shared screen.
Yep.
It's already in shared screen mode.
Right.
So
I can see it full.
she can see it full now.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's no problem. Yeah, she's seeing it.
Right.
So I'm just gonna get the stopwatch as well. But
Okay.
I'll actually start the stopwatch from when you make the presentation after the introduction.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous. I mean,
I'm not talking about a stopwatch. That's nerve-wracking. Stopwatches.
Yeah. Okay. Stop.
Whenever you're ready, yeah, please introduce yourselves. And
Gambate.
it is on that camera. So.
Right. Okay. Okay, let's begin. Okay. We are a documentary film production team named Rainmaker Team. And we are going to do the presentation titled Fight for You. First, please wait a moment. Sorry.
There's one page of PowerPoint missed.
Yeah, the order is.
This was just the one I got. Yeah. Oh, you want to?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry about that. And first, we are going to introduce ourselves. My name is Masahiro Naito, the director of the team, and I major in philosophy at university, graduate school of university. And my job is to direct all the processes of the production and look through the productions, and I will interfere if I need to, all through the pre-production, shooting, and post-production.
Hello, and I am the production manager, and I'm Li Yan, and I come from Frontier Bioscience. And I think my job in this team is basically to imagine what the video shooting gonna be, to imagine the video and what kind of questions we're gonna be asked, and the kids, and yes, make some action with the kids. Yes, that's it. Okay.
Hello, I'm Tetsuo Kishi. My role is camera shooting, and my major is in philosophy. And yeah, I provide interview video by camera shooting. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kyo Seha, and I major in behavioral science of environment.
And my name is Shinjo Yuta. I major in geography.
And we are the editors for this video, and we will make sampling and editing for our project. That's all. Thank you.
Right, that's the for members of the team, and we are going to do the best by doing we are going to do our best and try to success in documentary filmmaking. So our theme might be described in one line synopsis, and it is, what should we hand down to the next generations? To approach this question, we are going to the activities of one local hero. There are some local heroes taking activities in Japan, and they are facing the same challenges as other areas, like aging society problem, and like a decreasing of young people, especially in countryside. And we are going to seek why and how the local heroes try to solve local level problems. And through that, maybe we can grasp the essence of the problem as a universal matter. So we are going to explain a little more detailed content in the next slide.
Okay, and I think as we all know, Japan has its own culture and custom about the hero team, but they are more act like a team, but not like single one like American captain. So it's a cultural phenomenon. And also in modern Japan, there also exists a group as a local heroes, and especially in Ikeda City, we find that kind of group. They are act like a hero, and they are quite popular among the childrens, and we are going to capture what they're gonna do in the different events and how they're gonna spread a message to children and confronting the local size problems.
And here's come to our target audience. As you can see, our primary audience are national audience who are interested in local hero activities and children who like Ikeda Rangers. And our secondary audience refers to international audience who are interested in Japanese hero culture and the local activities. And next is our collaborators and participants. Our protagonists are the members of Ikeda Ranger. And the place we are planning to take our video is at the event of the 50th anniversary festival of Fushio Dai, which will be shot on this date. And we also plan to record the practice at the garage in Ikeda City. So that's all for my part.
Filming style is not decided yet, but the approach is interviews. We shoot the performances on stage and interview of the leader of the Rangers to show this, and we show their stories and the motifs and how their activity involved the local people.
And regarding the style and approach, in terms of the interview, we are kind of facing some kind of problem in which might curve the concept of the documentary. In detail, Mr. Terauchi, whom we talked to this week, he represents Ikeda Ranger, and he agreed to participate in our research, but he disagreed to the idea that we film their usual, off the mask forms, and that's understandable because that might let the audience know who they are, and that's not what they are doing for, and that would affect the way people see Ikeda Ranger. And so we are thinking about an interview of the characters. Like we are not doing the interview of Mr. Terauchi, but the members of Ikeda Ranger. So that might affect the line between the real thing and the fictional thing, and that's a difficult, like, philosophical question, but we just want you to know that it will be under discussion. Okay.
Now we are planning of timeline like this. We prepare to the project from today and to November 10th, and we set date shooting November 12th. This is the event day of Ikeda Ranger, and we have optional extra days. These are November 7th, 9th, and 14th. This is practice day of their events. And then we start post-production. Yeah. From today, we continue planning and meeting. And from next week, we started preparation and shooting until shooting event 12th November. And after finishing shooting, we start editing within 2 weeks, assembly done and rough cut done. And until the event on 12th November. And after finishing shoot, these are background reference. Thank you for your attention.
Great, thank you very much. So I'm going to just check how long that took you. Oh, 10 minutes. Wow, sorry. Very good. Okay, Kit, I'm going to bring you around now so that you can join us. Is that okay? And stop sharing. Cool. Okay. Let's see. I think better to go this way. Okay. All right, right. So everyone can see you, and you can now see everybody, I think. Just a sec. No, maybe not. Is that? Can you see everyone? Do we need lights on? Maybe it's a bit dark. Sorry. I wonder if I can move you even closer so we can hear you better. I have to say, I liked your slides. I like your design of your slides. It's really good.
That's a copyright-free style.
Are you able? Is that camera set up okay, Kit?
Yes, perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
good. All right then. So, there's a couple of issues I think that the students have already pointed out, but my initial. Shall I go first, Kit? Is that okay?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
I mean, and then maybe we can have a few iterations, but my initial reaction is really positive. I think you've done a good job. And I like the title of your team. And I also like the presentation style. I thought that was really good. Kind of like, it's kind of playful, but I think that's probably one of the central parts of your approach, although you didn't mention it, but I think the playfulness is really, really important. So it's like you're not taking it super serious, but you're trying to make it entertaining and enjoyable and so on. So I felt that the visuals were playful, and I like that. I also felt the name, is it Dreammaker? Is also kind of playful as well. So that's good. So you're not taking yourself too seriously, and you're also respecting the subject of the story, which is they're also fairly playful, if I understand correctly how they work. But there's an underlying message which is serious, and that these heroes help to solve the social problems, which I felt was really, really interesting. And one thing that struck me was the emphasis on culture. I think you mentioned it, cultural differences, that in the US you have Captain America or Thor or Iron Man, but they're by themselves. I mean, together they're become a team, but their skills and everything are all really, really different. Whereas in Japan, you've got this team approach, which is very common across many of them. And I think that getting that message across in the video could be really good as well. So how you do that, I'm not completely sure, but I thought it was, I think it's really interesting to emphasize that aspect of it. So that's my initial impression. And I felt, for instance, the way the synopsis is really clear, and your one paragraph was also very, very straightforward as well. So you've basically got all the ingredients that we were asking for you to include there. And so that's my initial reaction, Kit. Maybe more from a filmmaker's perspective, you have some views about what was presented and some of the issues covered there.
Okay. Thanks everyone. That was fantastic. Really interesting idea. I agree with Brendan that it's very playful, and I think that creatively you should really lean into that of playfulness, because I think rightly you pointed out that the biggest challenge of the project is that the actors or the people who are playing these rangers want to be anonymous. And so rather than that becoming a challenge negatively, try to see that as some sort of aspect of the project that you can creatively play with. So there's an intrigue because you don't know who these people are. And so I think the part that seems difficult is how are we going to explore that anonymous, that characteristic of not knowing who these people are. And I think in a way, I think there's a way that you can do it that is actually even more fun, is really fun. My thoughts initially were in terms of the perspective of the story, and also the themes that the ideas that you're wanting to explore. So you're talking about fighting for you. So is the you the children? So I think we have to understand a little bit more about, or we have to be a little bit more in the perspective of the children, potentially, as well as understanding what's at stake for them as children. So if the issues are aging and the aging population in Japan, and the issues are decreasing young people in the rural regions, and also, you know, changes in cultural practice. So, you know, local heroes being teams and those kinds of ways that culture and identity are infused into these ranges. I want to understand that from the perspective of children. So one idea that I thought you might want to think about is how could you bring the children's perspective into this? And maybe there's two ways to do that. One, maybe there's fan art, like drawings and animation, or some sort of very childlike representations of these characters, so that you can see how much the children idealize or love these characters and what they're drawing, you know, if they're fighting or if they're eating bento, I don't know, like what these characters are doing. The drawings might help to explore some of these ideas about being with old people or living in rural areas. And then also another idea is, in your interview with the rangers, could you ask them about when they were children and what their experiences were as children? And through that comparative childhood, do we see what's happening to those children in today? So why are they fighting? Do they feel like the children of today are not getting what they got as children? So maybe through that playfulness of children's drawings or children playing with, you know, like little objects and stuff that you could shoot really abstractly, you could help audiences understand why those rangers are fighting and what they're fighting for. Like they're fighting for these children to, it's still not clear to me what they're fighting for. What is the social problem that you're trying to get to? Is it cultural loss? Is it loss of childhood? Is it loss of children living in regional areas? I'm not quite sure. And I think if you can understand that, then those relationships between the ranger's childhood and the kids of today. And that way, when you're at this event and the children are laughing and excited and everything, you're very much with the children. Also, the perspective of those children, when you're filming the event, which angle are you going to film it from? Maybe you need one camera actually down at the children's level as well as a main camera so that you can somehow create the perspective from the child's gaze, the child's vision. I think, what else was my thought around this? I can see the style. So
I was gonna just chip in while you're thinking about that.
yeah, go for it. Yep.
Yeah, on those things, I think that, how old are the kids? Do you have any idea?
Maybe before elementary school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So they're really young.
So kid, are you suggesting that they take along some sheets of paper and some pens and they get the kids to draw and put a message on or something like that?
Oh, that'd be amazing. I mean, and actually film those hands with crayons and coloring and everything. You know, it's you could really play with that, or you could shoot it later where it doesn't necessarily need to be on the day. It could actually be with kids that that, set up a shoot where they're with kids and they're drawing those. But if you can do it on the day, it might just be a lot to do
Yeah,
in one
it's a lot.
day, that's all. But it could be a separate,
Mm.
also that moment could play an important part of like chapters in the film, because I think one question I had was, I mean, and this is the evolving creative process, and you may not have this yet, but how many scenes are there in this film? How many locations are we at? So if we're at the garage and we're at the event, that's 2. And so does that mean that if it's a 5-minute film, that we're at the event for 2.5 minutes and we're at the garage for 2.5 minutes? I feel that maybe it's not rich enough. There might need to be another location, or another, like maybe it's these children. And so then my question is around, if there is this anonymousness, this playfulness of the rangers, then maybe there's a quality of like, there's a style of filmmaking that is what they call magic realism, and it's like fantasy, like magical things that happen that not necessarily are in the real world. And I'll try and find some references for you of magic realism, but it's a very famous, and I think Japanese storytelling really plays with magic realism too. Also, I did a bit of research into the region, and it's famous for charcoal, right? I think, or something. It's famous for the charcoal that's made there. So I don't know, maybe
I'm not
there's,
sure you're looking at the right region.
maybe I'm not
Quite a
sure.
few
I think
it
so.
does, yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
Hokkaido.
anyhow, I was just thinking, I was just thinking that
Yeah, I
if
don't
it's
see any charcoal around Ikeda city. At least I haven't.
okay, because that's what made me think about the crayons, in that,
Yeah.
like that the quality of the crayons. Maybe there's a way to connect to some of that cultural tradition in the region, or things that the region's proud of. There could be something like a visual thing there.
So one
Um,
before you go to your next point, it's, you know, when you were saying ask the Ikeda Ranger guys to talk about their childhood, maybe you could ask them also who were their heroes when they were kids. Yeah, because that kind of maybe can connect up quite well. But I don't know. I can't imagine who their heroes were when they were kids or what they love, you know. But maybe there was something. There must be something that inspired them to do this. But that's so that kind of question
Yeah.
also connects up to it. Yeah.
yeah, I think with that asking those questions is the way for you to understand their motivation behind what do they think is the problem for young children today, and how does that compare with their childhood and what they lived. Do they think their childhood was better, or did they have a bad childhood and they want to take care of the children and protect them from what this social problem that you're talking about in terms of aging and that kind of thing. I still think that I think we need to explore a bit more what this social problem means to the children.
I think I had quite a lot of. I mean, I imagine that the bad guy, it takes on the role of the problem. Yeah. I'm not sure, but I would imagine that the bad guy is doing something bad against the kids, and then these rangers protect the kids against that bad guy. But what that bad guy is doing could change every time there's an event. But I have no idea. Maybe you have some idea of what.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Mr. Terauchi and asked how they perform shows,
Right.
and they get offer from the town or organization, and then when after they get the offer, they set up the script.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
especially for the town.
Right.
So they can perform on the themes of the particular town.
I see.
And every time they get the offer, they make another.
I see. So you don't know what the theme is yet.
Yeah, and we are going to catch the event in Fushio town,
Right.
in Ikeda City,
Okay.
and they are so we offer the interview, so they are going to have to make more theme central performance. So I mean, we offer this on interview or research, so they make the fit for the documentary thing.
Oh, okay. That's great.
Yeah, that's there.
I see. I think another possible angle, if you were talking about three different parts, is actually the people who invite them to perform, why they invite them as well. There's obviously a reason why they are invited to that festival, but it might be, if they're there, it might be just a good idea to get them on camera talking about why they invited those guys along. You might use it, you might not, depending on how the story is, but that's another angle. But the fight for you then is the elementary school. The you is the elementary school children. Is that right? Or
I mean, that
that town
could involve many meanings.
Okay. Okay.
They are saying fight for the children, but we can see that they are fighting for the local community,
right?
Not only for children.
I see.
So that's the point of the you.
I see. Okay.
Well, then those aspects need, I think, to explore those a bit more. So if we're fighting for the local community, then the question is, and always, what's at stake? What's at stake for that local community? If we are talking about aging and, economic depression and people moving away from that region, then how do the rangers communicate that, or to not move away, or to, you know, have more local economic activity, that kind of thing. Like you'll find it, you'll find the seed. You just need to think through what is at stake for the local community, and how is that symbolically represented in the performance, I think. And so I think the idea you're putting together of how they're making something for the town specifically, that's really interesting. And I'm wondering, when they do that part of the process, is there written material, like a script, or like, I don't know, like a choreograph page or something that you can film or shoot or watch them making, or something like that? So not just meeting them when they're in the garage doing their performance, but maybe one step before, when they're conceptualizing the performance before they begin practicing. Because that moment, you may be able to understand the motivation around this local community question you have. You may be able to film so that you don't see their faces. So, and that footage that you film of them writing or talking or something, maybe at what point in the story do you edit that? We're not sure. Is that the beginning? Is that halfway through? So, but I think to try to be there to film anonymously and say to them, no, we're not going to ever film your face. And this is the ethics, I think, of the project, in that the story protagonists have asked you not to film their faces, so they will trust you and give you access based on that. So before the film is finished, or in a version, you'll need to go to them and show them and go, is this okay? Before it becomes public, you'll need to, and in negotiating to film that sort of scripting meeting, you can say, well, we can show you the film before it goes on YouTube, so you can see. No one will know who you are. Something, I don't know. I'm just trying to think through how you can get access to that meeting where they're not going to be in their costumes.
Or just
What
film
else
them,
did I?
yeah, just film them from behind, or film them
Yeah,
as
or
they're writing
yeah,
their
or
storyboarding their performance, or the script, working on the script, yeah, without actually seeing their faces.
yeah, or maybe you film the scene quite ethnographically, so we see the teapot, we see the location, but we don't necessarily know their face. And maybe maybe that's something that you need to establish at the very beginning of the film, that the reason why they're anonymous. Maybe the first statement that the character makes is, we never tell anyone who we are, or something, so that there's no expectation from the audience that they're ever going to see, and they're not asking the question of like, oh, why can't I see their face? Because the information you've given in the story is at the very beginning, that we are anonymous, no one knows who we are. And so that's quite magical, because no one knows who Batman is. We do, but no one knows who Batman is, or no one knows who,
We're not
Captain.
supposed to know who Batman is.
No, so
might be useful to get them to say a little bit about Shiodai and Ikeda, and they kind of, they'll be the ones who are narrating what's going on there. So when you can get them to sort of explain what they're doing and what are the problems facing that particular location, they would be the ones who express it. You can get them to talk a little bit about that, and that then can be the voiceover you use when you're showing the scene of the town or the school or whatever. You can use them to kind of narrate it there. Okay.
And
Any oth-
that will help you show the characters challenge and them trying to that's their quest. Like if it's a hero's journey, like a 3-act structure, then the quest is for them to make a performance that fights for the children and the local town. So we need to understand what the local town, why we're trying to fight for the local town. So we need to understand what the problem is in that way. I think you know this already, but how to pull it together into the questions you ask and the things that you film.
There's a lovely poster of the festival actually on the local government website, and they're there right in the middle of it. And I think
that's good.
the festival has got a lot of visual images that you can use as well, which would be something that maybe people outside of Japan are not familiar with. So capturing that atmosphere of the festival could be really, really interesting too.
Yeah.
50th festival,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it? 50th anniversary festival. Wow. Okay. So yeah, a lot of beautiful images that you can imagine from all the food that's made and everything, and the different games that are going on there. Anyway, so do you want to say something, Kit?
Yeah, also visually it can be really fantastic. So obviously the costumes are very bright, and if we might want to ethnographically see the detail of those costumes, and when they're putting them on, and and they're getting ready, or when they're doing their performance, maybe you need to actually schedule a time when you're just filming them performing with just the costume, without the children. And I mean, creatively, that could be something really interesting as well, like filming them doing the performance at maybe 50 frames or 120 frames a second. So it's slow-mo. So in some ways, when they're conceptualizing the performance, we go to these places where you can see them performing or something in a more like in their mind. We're in their mind thinking. But there is visually a lot there. But then also I think you should give some time to the audio, because it's an audio-visual medium. So what does this project sound like? Each of these scenes, what do they sound like? Is the performance quiet? Is the performance loud? What is the music score? If it's about children, are we hearing children's music, or are we hearing fun music? What is the music at the festivals? And so the score or the composition, the music you choose, what music does, and I made a note, it helps audiences understand how you want them to feel at this moment. So if we're seeing them dancing and performing and we're hearing very happy music, then we're telling the audience, oh, we want you to be happy. But if we're watching them dance and perform and we're hearing this very sad music, then maybe we're trying to communicate to them that something's not, even though we're seeing this happy performance, something's not right. So to think about the music in every scene, or how the music takes us from one scene to the next as well. And so in thinking about that, my suggestion would be to try and listen to a lot of different type of library music. A lot of there's a lot of Creative Commons. Brendan, you might have some suggestions about that.
Luis a little bit, where Luis was giving them what was the website for music? We had basically Luis had a website that he recommended for royalty free. Was it Pixabay?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
Pixabay.
And
Yeah.
what they would do is they would type in a keyword, and moody music or playful music, and then you get lots of options from there. Get some inspiration. So that's they did
Yeah.
that.
Okay, that's great because I went to Pixabay and had a listen, and yeah, there's some real let's do this music, and then there's some there's piano music, but also maybe you have a friend or someone has a friend who has a band or is a musician or is an electronic musician, and or you're a musician and you yeah and you actually want to compose the music for this. So that's also interesting as well. And it may sometimes the music in films is very minimal. We don't hear much, and it's just a very, very light melody every now and again to help steer the audience to how you want them to feel. So yeah, I think that they were my main
Right.
yeah, so they were my main notes about how many scenes are we going to see? What's the purpose of each scene? What information is it giving us? I can make these notes for you and share. And then what's the order of that? So this is for the editors. So in what order do we learn things about our characters and the quest that they're on? And then the next question was about the perspective. Whose perspective is this film made from? Is it from the Ranger's perspective? Is it from the children's perspective? Or are there multiple perspectives? I think to play more with the childhood idea, the themes of childhood, themes of age, because age is definitely a theme in this in so many ways. And then also themes of local and, I mean, it's not in opposition, but local or global, or is it rural city, or is it like, what are the contrasts that you're trying to portray? And then the style and the approach. So, you know, do you want to use the kids' drawing, or is there a way that you can animate the kids' drawings, or charcoal, or magic realism, the fan mail that these people get? Maybe they can talk about that or show us that. And then, oh, there's a bubble. And then finally the music. So
Yeah, I think so. Just to say, I'm just looking at this area. The reason why it's 50 years is it's actually only been around for 50 years. It's a new town. And you can imagine one of the problems is that people moved in 50 years ago. And so a lot of them are getting old. Yeah. So there's a big issue there. And I'm sure maybe there aren't a lot of kids. I don't know. That's the other thing. But that's the big picture context of this particular locality. I think just one other thing to point out is that if there are some key messages, for instance, if you want to get that cultural difference to come out, you need to get the protagonist to say it. So think about some of the questions that you might get that, you know, okay, could you tell us how your heroes in Japan are different to other places in the world?
No. Actually, we have argued yesterday, and that's because we just know yesterday that they draft to say something as an individual character. That means what I assumed interview gonna block. It's gonna be a big limitation because I don't know what I'm gonna ask in a cartoon character.
Oh, so the cartoon character, only the cartoon character can speak.
Say something in the cartoon characters. No, like the childhood or why you do this job, what is you're happy with this job, no job.
So that cartoon character.
Yes, they can only say
does that cartoon character know about Captain America? That you could ask the cat.
That's individual questions.
I mean, maybe they know. I mean, there's the universe of the Ikeda Ranger, you know. So
Okay.
Maybe they can create something new during the interview and put it in their universe.
I see. Okay.
Totally block in the reality.
I mean, that's up to their decisions.
Okay, so you can only get them to talk about the local area as the character. You can't get them to talk about it as
The story behind it, no.
what's the main guy's
Mr. Terauchi.
Terauchi. Terauchi cannot talk.
Yes,
It's whatever character he is playing that can talk.
yes, so,
Right,
yeah,
I see.
it confused me a lot. I have no imagine now because it totally different. Yes,
So you have to think about the questions that you can ask them.
and actually they wanted we give them the questions before because their life and the voice was separated and it was a record every time. So
Also when they perform,
yeah, the people
they're
perform and the people,
recording.
the voice out, it was a different person. So that's also.
Is there a manager? Is there a manager of the
Terauchi.
Rangers that isn't one of the characters?
Whole story for each scene, like,
Yeah.
they get an offer from the government and who decided to, oh, let's make a story and what kind of story you're gonna show to children. And I want to talk with this person, but I don't think it is available.
Right. It's like behind the scenes.
Yes, what I want to say is
You're not-
behind, but
They're
they
not,
object.
they're not going to let you look behind the
Yes,
curtains. Yeah, that's
mean,
the thing.
When he asked me to share the video after we made it and share it to the potential children.
Right.
So when the children see the video, we that should not break the universe.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
So.
Oh, well then you could be making a film that's like a fairy tale.
It's almost like a
Where-
promotional video as well, isn't it? But you
And
don't
also
want it
something
to be a promotional video,
Yeah,
but
more document, no interview, only like a record of the events and yeah, we talked about
but
it.
I mean, one way to do it, which could be, I mean, we're just brainstorming here. We're not saying this is how you have to do it this way. One of them is actually like, there is the problem and these guys are gonna come and fight for it. So you're saying, and then what is the problem? And how do you fight for it? So you actually, in 6 minutes, you play that out, yeah. So you just take it as it is at face value, and then we don't know what the problem is, but like, how would these guys solve the problem? Yeah, and it can be really interesting. Yeah.
I mean, one way that is maybe really adventurous, maybe radical, is to make it kind of like a fairy tale. So, once upon a time in Ikeda, there was, this is a town and it was a sleepy town and all the old people are leaving. Why are they leaving? And the children are sad and then, but there's a secret that this community has, and it's these superheroes and they come and they do this, and so they've got and then this one particular day, like you could, it's still documentary because you're still shooting the world and the reality, but the treatment of the story is more playful, so it's more poetic, it's more of a performative style where you have a voice of God, you have a narrator who's telling the story, rather than it being coming from the perspective of the main rangers, maybe where, and no one knows who these people are. They're the secret weapon of the town or something. You could probably still explore all of the angles around aging population and the local problems and sadness through this voice of God, or this kind of narration character. There's one way that you could explore it, because it's difficult if they've given you this challenge of not being able to film them outside of this superhero persona.
That's
Then
what
you have to
orange-
work with it.
That you've got
Okay.
really constrained, and maybe that's where you're going to be creative. And so one option is just go with the fairy tale. Just embrace that fairy tale and tell it as as it is a fairy tale, as though they really are the Ikeda Rangers. And that, it's like you're telling the story of Batman, you know who Batman is. You don't know who these guys are. Just keep that secret and tell their story like that, and what problem it is that they're fighting today, and which place they're fighting it. Not to break that illusion that they're regular people. So when the kids see it, they're like, "Oh wow, I wish I had them in my town. They're fantastic." And then
Because you have, yeah,
go on, sorry. At the end
no,
of the
no,
day,
keep going.
problem, don't they? They solve this particular problem. And that's your creative arc as well. It's what is the
How to solve the population problem by beating the monster. I don't know, this hypothesis is not existing in my, so I don't know how to present it.
Well, I think you have to understand the monster.
Yeah, with the monster, is the monster population decline? Is that the monster? We don't know for sure what the monster is doing.
The monster represents any problem.
Yeah, right,
Depending on the town
right.
giving them offer.
Do we know what it is? Do we know what the scenario is?
They are creating right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
for
that's what you have to
preparation.
wait till you get the scenario before, and then you have to think about,
Right,
okay,
right.
how do we approach this? But I think you've got a path there, which is to stick with their constraints and work within it, and then try to come up with a story that keeps what they want, which is not to let the children understand that it's just a bunch of guys in costumes, and that tells something which is really entertaining and engaging. And it still has that underlying message of solving social problems, but don't turn around at the end and say, "This is all a bunch of nonsense, and these guys look so stupid doing that," and they're never going to solve any problems. Don't break the fantasy. But yeah. Anyway,
I think the also
go on. Go ahead.
I think the key to it is in the target audience that you've identified. So you've said that the target audience is both,
Elementary school.
yeah, you've both the adults and then the children. Well, even adults like fairy tales, and they're like fun. So if you were to try to think of the story and how you would tell this story, and that you were making this for children, then maybe some of the ways that you would tell the story would be different than. I think you can still talk about aging population, and you can still talk about the problems of the village, but you can do it in a way that is specifically aimed at that target audience. And that when you get lost in the creative process, just always pull yourself back to who is this audience that we're trying to talk to. So if similarly, the way you're talking about how you might see the universal themes in the local, you can still tell this story of this town or this village and these problems through to an audience of children, but still have it resonate with adults.
Right.
It's very hard to tell children's stories, but not if you study how children's stories are told. If you can study the method, if you can study how other children's stories are told in other mediums, so you find resonances, other children's stories.
So you're suggesting they go like in Once Upon a Time.
As one idea, like you may not like that idea. You may
that's place got there were these rangers. But I think
people's secret in the community that no one knows who they are, and so we don't have to.
Rangers solving problems. That's one thing. I mean, that's you've got that way of kids' stories. That's also another thing you could do. I also think that if they can't talk, the audience can talk. So the kids can talk, the kids can say like what they love about it, why they get so excited, who's their favorite. So the kids could talk about that, or even adult members of the audience you can say like, what do you think that was about? Yeah, what was the story there? How did you understand the story? Or what's it like living here? So they can be the ones who talk about the aging problem or whatever, without if those guys can't, yeah. But then the issue is finding somebody in the audience who's gonna say something, yeah.
Or maybe have the Kid Ranger talk by having the voice actors talk.
If the voice actors
agree.
if you can
If
agree,
they're-
that's gonna be slightly complicated, but maybe you can do it. Or you get them to kind of give you bits of the script that work,
Yes.
that you can use, yeah.
I think a narrator,
So you
voice
need-
of God, if you've got this challenge, that may be the easiest, where we establish that there's a voice telling us about this situation, or that's telling us this story. Because if you're stuck with protagonists who can't speak, or you have to have them in character all of the time, it could work if you've got a vision for it, but it, like you say, it might be complicated. Maybe, I don't know yet. I'm struggling to conceptualize it, but that's not to say that if you can see it and you can communicate it to me and to Brendan and the rest of the group, and we go, yeah, okay, that's going to work. That'll work. So it's just, again, like just brainstorming how we tell this story in a way that you answer this question. What was the question again? What should we hand down to the next generation? Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that I hope we haven't confused you even more. But you have a lot of potential paths that you can go down, and I think they're all depending on what comes up in the next meetings you have with those guys. But I think that basically you've got the ingredients of something really interesting. I think it's a great focus for a story, and it's a really interesting protagonist. And I think the playful fantasy magic realism angle is also kind of unique, but it's challenging. It's really hard to make a film like that, but that's why you try to make films like that. You don't want to be just very boring, not interesting. The main thing is the story. You want to have a good story there, so please think carefully about what is your story and how that story can have a bigger appeal there. You know, if it's the fact that these guys are their identity is always secret, if that's the story, or if there's a story about how kids love them, you just need to think about it and focus on it. Have you got any questions, or is it kind of clear? Well, I think the main thing is, you can ask us questions at any time if you're struggling. I would also encourage you to try to capture as much as you can, so that when you're editing, you can really try and focus down the content and focus on the particular story you want to tell. Yeah, anything else, Kit? I was going to talk about a couple of sort of logistical things next. If
Two things.
Yeah.
My suggestion now would be, well, really what we need to see is some sort of, the next step is about making a story outline, like at least sort of trying to block what the scenes are, to write the film down. And then so you can all see it. And then it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And you use those basic things that have been written down about what those scenes are, and that's work in progress. So my suggestion would be to try to articulate or write down what you think those scenes are, and and also be really creative about some other scenes as well that might work, because then the producer can start scheduling those scenes. And all right, well, if we want to film the kids drawing, then we need to schedule that. Or if we want to go to the archive and see old photographs of the town, then we need to go and film those photographs of, you know, long time ago when the village was built or something like that. And then the other thing is, my suggestion in terms of creative inspiration is to try to watch as many films as you can in this genre or about this topic. So, you know, films about superheroes, documentaries about superheroes, or films about or children's stories about superheroes, and try to understand the technique, how they made it, and it'll inspire you. That would be my suggestion.
And that includes like camera person as well, thinking about angles and how do you show superheroes in an interesting way, bearing in mind that you can't see their face. So yeah, it's not just that the director should do some research, but it's like all of you should be thinking how you. So you basically put together. The suggestion is put together the initial story outline, share it amongst the team, try to break it into scenes, and then think about other things you might want to cover, and then do a bit of additional research on how these stories are presented. Those are the points that you were suggesting there, Kate.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that feels like a normal pipeline for, you've got a great idea. It's really exciting. It's really interesting. It touches on very relevant issues in today's society, anywhere in the world. So it definitely has universal themes. And you've got such a great angle, which is like a superhero group in Japan, which, like, it's a gift. So go for it. Really,
really good.
explore it. Yeah, with
Perfect for
the creativity of
the-
the fantasy.
Okay, I think it's great. I think basically thumbs up. We really, really like what you're doing, and we like your story. Regarding logistics, so I'm actually away from today until the 2nd of November. Do you need cameras? When do you need the cameras? When do you want to come and pick up the camera equipment? What day do you need it?
I have two questions.
Yes.
First, can we make a drama a totally completely fairy tale? Is it possible?
If you agree as a team, that's what you want to do, then it's possible.
Okay. The second, and
But I mean, it has to work as a story and has to have a message. Yeah, that's one way to do it. What was your second question?
the second question is
Okay,
okay,
you can co-
I forgot.
yeah, you can come back to it. Anyway, but what I was asking you is, when do you need the cameras? For instance, would you like to pick them up on the 2nd of November? Or would you like, or do you need them like now?
We might need some days to practice and you know,
Okay.
use the camera properly.
Okay, so you want them now then?
I mean, it's on the cameraman.
Cameraman, what do you want? Do you want the cameras now, or do you want the cameras on the 2nd of November? one camera maybe now.
So, yes,
Okay,
I need.
shall we?
camera.
Okay, then after this class, we should go and, are you free? Can you go to my office to pick it up?
No, actually, I have classes after this. class.
Oh,
So
okay.
This evening is.
But I'm leaving after this. I'm going to Tokyo. Okay, so I guess then the only other thing is that I can actually ask my colleague to let you into the room to get the cameras. So maybe we do that, yeah. We can organize for you to go to my office and pick up the camera. And I'll ask my colleague to help you check out the equipment. Okay, let's do that. So then what you do is send me an email when you want to go, and then I will inform that person that you're coming. But yeah, you need to get the cameras as quickly as possible. The second question is about next week. So next week is a holiday.
Yeah. The university festival.
Exactly. So I was wondering what you were thinking about in terms of, because we are scheduled to have class, but I'm having my mind so that it's essentially us sharing information with you about how to film it. What we could do is, if you prefer, we could actually record the session, and the sessions we record it, and then you watch it in your time,
Like on demand.
on demand.
Right.
Yeah. Would you prefer that, or would you prefer to have an online class?
Record.
I'm sorry?
You mean?
So what I would do is that Kit and I would do the session, but we would record the session and then you watch it.
Yeah.
When you have time.
Yes, watch it.
How do you feel about that? Everybody agreed, or?
Either is okay for me.
Okay, all right. So, well, actually, I'll tell you what we could do is we could actually schedule it. If you want to join, you can join. If you don't want to join, you just watch the recording. Yeah, and maybe we'll schedule the first one, which will be the 10:30 in the morning one. And then the other, and then we record it then, and then afterwards, those who want to watch can watch. So Kit, is that okay with you? It's a
Yeah,
holiday
that's fine.
here. I'm just thinking it's a challenging but if you do want to join, then you're more than welcome to do so. And then finally, the other thing is I put onto CLE samples of documents you need. So for instance, when you're filming, you might want to have some kind of little sign to say filming in progress, Osaka University students filming. If you do not want to appear on video, please tell us. Because sometimes people are not happy that they are filmed. And so either they'll come up and say, please don't film me, or they will move out of the way. But you need that. And then the other thing you need is a release form, which is that the person who you filmed. So if you do with Teruichi-san, you film him, he has to sign to say it's okay. There's a Japanese version of that there. So please take a look at it and make sure you take this with you when you go to film and you get them to sign it. Because, well, it's not such a big issue because we're not disseminating this. It's not going to be on TV or so on and so forth, but it's better to have that document in place. So, okay, those are the main things from a business point of view. Is there anything, Kit, that you want to add before we wrap up?
The release form is also helpful when you make the credits so that you have the correct spelling of that person's name. That's it. Every time for me, it's always helpful. I just thinking, I don't know how possible or how good your access is yet, but I'm wondering if it is possible to film when they're making to film them when they're making that scenario. If you think that's helpful and useful, it might be a good moment. I mean, you may be able to recreate it as well, but if you can get access to that moment when they're actually conceptualizing the performance before they practice it, but maybe I don't know how they do it, but if you can.
Quite tricky because that's bursting that's looking behind the curtain, which they don't want us to do, yeah.
Yeah,
They want kids to think that these are real. They don't want kids to think that they have a script.
okay.
Yeah,
The
so
practicing is okay because
they still
they were, you know, making an article on their
right,
practice.
right. So they have their own YouTube videos about them practicing. So that's okay.
Ah.
But they're in character, yeah. You don't see them getting dressed in their
Yep.
suits. Yeah, you never see
Yep.
them before that. Okay. Hmm.
So maybe that's up to negotiation.
Right. Okay. But if
Yeah.
they don't accept,
Yeah.
then you have to go with the fantasy story and make it like really fun. You know, guess who's arrived in town to solve the problems? The superheroes are here, and their kids love them. That kind of story.
Or if you,
Okay.
if it's not, yes, he's arrived in town, it's that actually the town has a secret. They have a group of heroes that no one knows who they are. They're the people from, you know, no one knows who they are. By day they're in the town. It could be anyone, but by night or when
Sing
problem
songs that come,
strikes,
yeah.
they appear. And so it leaves the intrigue potentially.
Which is kind of fun because you can imagine you can film them entering, yeah, and all the kids get like really excited as they arrive. These guys come to the rescue, come to solve the problem, yeah. But who called them? Yeah, somebody knows how to call these superheroes.
It's a paradox of the superhero.
It may be, sorry, keep going.
No, it's okay.
I was just thinking it may be when you're doing these scenes, it may be worthwhile even thinking about the storyboard.
Yeah.
So you kind of have an idea, like for camera, how you want to film it, or key things that you need to film when that event happens. Oh,
Right.
we know we need shots of the kids. Oh, we know we need shots of the performance. Oh, we know we need shots of the town or the location or something. So
Which will make
maybe worth
here as well.
Yeah.
Yes, but get your shot list figured out. Okay, so
yeah. But this is actually the most fun part when you're still dreaming. Aren't you the dream team?
yeah, you're the dream maker team.
Dream makers. This is the
especially
dream stage.
Camera person should be really clear on, well, I'm going to shoot them arriving. I'm going to shoot them when they come on the stage. I'm going to shoot this kid's reaction. I'm going to get some kids talking about it or whatever. I have to get these 10 or 20 shots. That's my job. Yeah. Not that, oh no, I just missed it. They arrived and they're on stage and oh, they're walking off stage and I missed to film it. Yeah, so you really have to nail it there with making sure you've got all of those. Okay, if you've got 2 cameras, that's even better.
Yeah.
but,
I think that's a good idea. I think you're going to need 2 cameras for the event because it'll all happen very, very quickly.
yeah, it happens quickly. You can miss something, and so if you're well prepared, you can be like a well-oiled team. You capture everything that you want to capture, and then you can do like after you've gone through your list, you go and just say, okay, let's get some other things that are going on. Let's get some B-roll. Let's get a feeling of the festival. Let's do a couple of interviews with people, etc. It's additional to what you've already filmed, but you've got your must-have list prepared.
Can we take shows of children?
Children's faces.
Same faces.
I mean, what I would recommend is you try, unless you've got parents' permission, you film mainly from the back. Yeah.
From the back.
Yeah. If you do film from the front, you might want to blur out their faces. But again, tell the parents you're going to blur out their faces unless they agree. Yeah. So a little bit, you have to maybe have something where we're filming, is it okay to film the kids? Please let us know. Yeah. Don't just go and film. Yeah. And if you do film, if you say we're filming from behind, kids' reactions, we're filming from the kids' level, etc. You might want to also talk to the organizers about it as well, just to make sure that they're happy with what they're
Maybe
doing.
let them, have them announce that.
Yes,
The
yeah,
students are filming.
right. So
uh,
please, if you have any problem,
yeah.
if you, please come and let
Right,
the director know, etc. Yeah, that's good, a good idea.
Yeah, that way, if it's more that you can film those children, and if there's someone who doesn't want the child filmed, then you can know. So if you do film those children, everyone's aware that you can film them, but if there's a mother or father that doesn't want their child filmed, at least you know who that child is, and you cannot include that shot in the final film. But I think it's a good idea for someone or even yourself to stand up in front of before the rangers come and to say, to introduce yourself or something. That's another option. So people aren't so, I understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, you've got lots of tips. And it's definitely not going to be easy, but it looks like a really interesting video. And I'm kind of excited to see how you're going to do this and how you're going to pull it off. Okay, so thanks a lot, Kit. And
No, thank you.
next week I'll send you an email about the plan to do this recording and everything. And I'll send a Zoom link for anyone who wants to join the class online.
Great. Okay. And I'll send my notes through to everyone, so you've got something to work with.
Thank you so
And
much.
I might see if I can find some references that you can look at.
Sounds great.
That could, like, visual references or audio references. Okay. Have a great day. See everybody.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, good. Well done. That's really interesting. I think you're onto something there.